Shamel Olwago, and you can call me Shem. Today I'll be reading from my book, The Pillars of Governed Mind, the Architecture of Civilization, and How It Shapes Your Experience. As I read through the book, I'll also be explaining some stuff in my own words, and this is a part where I'll be doing this for any of those who are more listeners than readers. So without further ado, I'll begin. It was clear, without needing to be said. I was seen as an equal in my full essence. And what they showed me was not a belief system, rather a presentation on what we were moving through here, on how this world's structure and shared experience is designed. And the way they said it to me was clear and simple. They said, this is how civilizations are built, through structures that shape a soul-mind experience. Not to trap or control in a way that we've come to experience and interpret it, but as a mechanism, a framework through which experience can take form, through rediverting our energy. What became clear was this: it only works the way it does because of our participation, through our attention, consent, and energy. The architecture of civilization. The word architecture comes from the Greek archi, which is origin of chief, and tekton, which is builder. A first builder, a principle of formation. The word civilization comes from the Latin civis, which is citizen, and civistas, city or state, referring to people living within shared structures or behavior, agreement, and interaction. And I guess this is where the idea of social contracts come in, which, as I said, like, this situation allowed me to have a deeper understanding on things that I'd already learnt about. So civilization at its root is not just about progress or society. It's a shared structure of agreed patterns that shape how experience is lived. But what I was shown is that this architecture is not made of walls. It's made of pillars, which quite frankly was a surprise to me. I hadn't thought about it like that at all. But as soon as it was shown, it's like it all came rushing back as to how that would make sense. Because of some of our experiences here, we feel trapped. We hear about this prison planet idea and the idea that we're trapped, or, just that. There's that narrative. And sometimes life can feel that way, especially if you're struggling in any way, with your health, with finances, with relationships, with just feeling like you don't fit in some way. This can often feel like a very closed in and walled place. So you can imagine that I was relieved in some way to see it put like this. But then there was that part of me that fought it, if I'm being honest. pillars that uphold a domed structure. The governed mind that supported a field of experience, each pillar a mechanism to shape the soul-mind experience. And this is where much of the understanding has come from. Because when something is presented to us as a rigid or fixed type of concept, it can feel like our choices on how we interact with it are limited. What changed everything is our ability to interpret it from a place of sovereignty or not. What creates the feeling of being stuck is not the structure itself, but it's the unconscious ways that we bind ourselves to it. The governed mind. So the word government comes from the Latin gubernar. Nailed it. To steer, to guide, to direct. And while the suffix, which is meant, refers to the means of instrument of that guidance, there's also this natural connection to mens, which means mind, the place where direction is received and acted upon. At its root, it's a guidance tool. So when I was shown this and I said, oh, the top of the dome, it says government. And I said, oh, government. And they said, remember, govern mind. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I kept it moving. So when we speak of the governed mind and the pillars from the perspective of a sovereign being, it was kind of shown to me like this. You wake up one day and you decide that you'd love to buy a bouquet of flowers. So that's your inner guidance. So you visit a shopping center knowing what you want to buy. And you go in there and there's a guidance map. So it tells you the quickest way of how to get there. So that map is outer guidance, but not the decider of what it is that you wanted to buy. It's just that help. So you follow the directions the map gave you, the guide gave you, and then you get to the florist. You buy the flowers. Your shopping experience is down to how you interact with the people, the place around you, and that would be a pillar. So as you can see, neither the map nor the pillar ever meant to decide what you were to buy or what your experience would look like. That was up to you. At each step, the choice is yours. However, at some point here, we began to replace this inner guidance with the structure itself, relying on how it was like as if it was the only source of guidance, and just misplacing what a pillar was for our own inner guidance, not just taking it for what it was, which was a tool. And that's how it was initially intended to be. And the thing is, you are energizing the experience as you interact with it. But due to our collective amnesia, programming, we no longer acknowledge our power and our innate connection to our inner guidance. So it is what it is, and it's become what it's become today. The identity we inherited. Much of what we call ourselves was never consciously chosen. Not from this side. It was shaped through repetition, reinforced through structure, and affirmed by the world around us. From early childhood, we are guided, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, into identities. Who to be, how to behave, what is acceptable, what is worthy, what is success, and what is failure. School teaches us how to think within a structure. Religion may teach us what to believe, what to have faith in, how to have faith in it. Society reflects back what is praised and what is rejected. Family roles define what it means to be a parent or a sibling or a partner or a provider. And slowly, without noticing, these layers begin to assemble into something that we call identity. But identity, as it is often lived, is not essence. It is accumulation, a collective of agreements.